that if you're not being authentic, you're not giving the light to somebody else to shine. And this is something I think about on a regular basis, that I try to make sure that I regulate myself so that I'm able to say, you know what, I know there's other people that out there, I might not see them, but they see me, and so they may. Hi guys, and welcome to the Driven Podcast. My name is Craig Clark and I run this podcast, and I'm grateful that you're here and that you're with us and able to share in what I'm going to be sharing with you. If this is good for any of you, I'd ask that you please like, comment in this section, please, just to help the algorithm grow, as well as subscribe to the channel. I know that a lot of people, they watch a lot of the content I do or listen to the content I listen to. Well, I provide, and then they do not click the subscribe button. But the more you subscribe, it's the more you're supporting me. Even if you're not paying financially, your support is what we need, because I'm trying to spread positive messages and not to spread anything that's negative. So that's where I come from with this. But in this episode, what I want to do, I want to be a bit more frank with you, a bit more open with you. Natural fact, I'm going to try and be as open as possible with you guys as I can be, which means, number one, let me do one thing first. So I know I normally wear a hat in my videos or whatever I'm doing. Like my mum and dad always say, like, I'm a hat beloved, as they say, but this is something I've done since I was a child. But I know that recently I need to probably be open and start sharing these things. Why do I wear a hat all the time? Well, I wear a hat, it's just my comfort. It's something that is a comfort to me, but there's probably deep down more reasons why I do that. But it's literally, I just like wearing hats. I always have done since I was a kid. But of recently, probably number one, if I really wanted to point at things, number one, I could laugh at myself in so many different ways, but let me say this one. So like from when I was a child, I started getting spots all over my face. I got a little bit teasing because of it. That's not the reason why I wear the hat, because wearing the hat sometimes probably causes more spots than actually taking away the issue itself. But I know there's that. Number two, I'm getting old. You know, look, you can see all like these grey hairs all appearing up there. I'm not young, you know what I mean? I've had grey hairs for a while. Since I was like 16, I had my first few. I know people who've had it from very younger than that, and I've had big patches here and there and around and that. But for me, is because, look, I'm getting older, and sometimes I don't feel like I want to show that at the time, but I'm a married man, I'm cool, I'm chilled, I don't mind, you know what I mean? I'm not like that. I'm not going to be wearing just for men. I'm not going to use that product at any time. So there's that. But also, my dad raised me to like also try and make sure that I'm presentable in all ways. Like, we as Jamaican people, especially Jamaican people, I don't know about anybody else because I'm Jamaican, but from what I see, people like to dress good. They like to be sharp, you know, they like to have their hair cut. Like, my hair's cut now. I went upstairs, I had a quick little go around with so I was bleeding here a minute ago, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, that's something that like I like to do. So we're looking there now, look. But yeah, that's something that I like to do, is make sure I'm presentable. And so, like, even like a lot of people these days, they won't wear a belt, they wear their trousers down below their bum. It's not me. My dad's kind of raised me. I know my brother's the opposite. My brother probably wears his trousers how he does, but for me, like, wear a belt, have your trousers up around your waist, even tucking in my t-shirt. My missus teases me all the time about having my t-shirt tucked into my trousers, or my vest and that tucked into my trousers. But that's just how I was raised, because number one, it's just being presentable. Number two, you're not gonna get workman bum from tucking your t-shirt in there. I'm not having workman bum. I'm not a workman like that. So it's something I do. And so what you'll find is, like, basically, this is how I want to present myself. So whether it's me wearing a hat because maybe I didn't get a haircut for a few weeks or whatever it is, because especially where I live, there is no barber around here. But like, I just need to make sure that, like, I'm presentable for everybody to see. Whether I go to work, when I go to work, my missus knows I like to get my hair cut before I go into work. I don't go into work like all the time, but when I do go into work, into the office, I need to make sure I look a certain way and I dress a certain way, I feel a certain part. So that's just me. But like I said, like, this is all about masks and wearing a mask. And what you see these days with people wearing a mask is there's people that will wear, I don't know, they'll have, it might not be that they're trying to like wear a hat. It might be something other, something different. But the ones that stand out more, what you see is probably people that they're driving big cars. You know, I'm not saying just everybody that drives a big car or has a lot of money or this, that, and other is wearing a mask. It's not that. It's that if you're wearing it, if you're using it as to cover something, so there's an insecurity, and then you go out and get yourself that nice car, you go out and you've got all this money to show you're spending. You know, it kind of shows an insecurity. You know what I mean? It's the people that, okay, they're wearing jewelry and all that stuff, instead of being real and starting to break down these women that wear physical masks. Let's just say they're wearing all this makeup to cover up their insecurities. That's what makeup's there for. But at the same time, there's some people that don't need makeup and they wear a little bit of makeup just to make themselves seem a bit more presentable. Now there's two different things, but having that, you've got to know that, like, if you've got this thing, it's not the best thing to have. And so we're not supposed to really cover up ourselves in that way, to say, in actual fact, I'm wearing a mask, I'm trying to hide this thing. So people who wear makeup, people who have wigs, people who, like, men who buy cars, have jewelry, they're like hiding behind their jobs and stuff like that, or the money that they make. You know what I mean? Even alcohol and drugs. I mean, you know the amount of time you hear people, they have a drink, what's it called, Dutch courage, you know, because they have a drink and then they feel like they've got this. And so some people do this all the time. They'll constantly be drinking or taking drugs, so they feel like they're in a better place, and they feel like that they can actually communicate better, they can dance better, or whatever it is they need to do. So they're covering up that thing, saying that they need to feel like they're more comfortable, they're feeling like they're more confident, and all these things, because they're in drugs and alcohol. So all these things are masks that cover up us as real people. So what you need to do is, like, know who you are inside, and this will make up for a lot of the misnomers that you actually use, or, you know, a lot of the things that we actually live by, as well as make sure you're comfortable with who you are. Now we'll go into this in a bit deeper, but I kind of like seconded this with The Mask, the actual film The Mask, and so we'll go into all of those things as we go on through. But I made a list of all the different masks that people wear. So you've got social expectations, which I had this conversation with my missus the other day, and I think it was talking about the Bible times and nowadays, and I think she said that she couldn't live in certain times where women were treated a certain way. And I goes, that's fine, but a lot of women in those times were happy because they were treated a certain way. You know, they were happy to live that life because that's what they're used to. That's the society. The society expects the woman to be a certain way, so therefore that's what it is for them. You can't say it's wrong in these days because it's a different climate. People are allowed to do certain things and be a certain way, and, you know, dress a certain way, and so it's different than what it was back then. So having that society expectation, like back in the day, they expected you to be married by the age of like 16, 18 and all that, and then you've had your kids. That's for women. Men are supposed to go out and work and do all this. So, you know what I mean? And whereas nowadays it's different. Men aren't doing the same kind of work. People aren't doing the same kind of work. Right now, people can sit like me. I sit in an office, or I sit in my office all day and I work. And I don't have to go out and labor in that kind of way. Whereas before, that's the only way a man could work, whereas a woman was expected to do other things as work if she wanted to work. So, whereas a lot of times, women were expected to work. But that's the societal expectations. So, but that's going on somewhere else. But back to the masks. Yeah, so beauty standards are... like, it can wear it like as a mask as well. Pursuit of external validation, fear of rejection, professional pressures, gender roles and expectations, which we've just gone through again as well. So cultural factors and comparison and competition, my bad. So having like comparing yourself to what you see with other people and competing. Like you see, oh my gosh, especially in certain cultures, you'll see, okay, my son has done this in school. Oh, my son has done this and that. That's one of the things you see, like in certain cultures, and it's like, who has my daughter married? Who has my son married? How's my, all these things is ridiculous, but this is how it is sometimes. And these are things that you see, especially with people who are hiding things. They want to compare themselves, and so they to hide their insecurity, they compare themselves to other people, and then they get better or get something like that's more, that will outshine the other person's things that they have, so that they're hiding their own insecurities. So if I'm looking back in school, I'm remembering that, like, the person that used to bully people a lot that I saw, like, he had things wrong with him. He had certain things wrong with him that he didn't want pointed at. So instead of doing that, what he did, he became the best at certain things, and then he pointed at other people, and people would laugh at that person or take the mick out of another person. So that way, it's deflecting all of that sight on what was wrong with that person onto other people. And so this is what I saw when I grew up, looking at people who used to bully and stuff like that. Well, that's that. But like, if we're coming back round now to The Mask, now this film, as much as it's a very big comedy and people will laugh at it and people will joke, and they will say, in actual fact, this film is like one of the greatest films for comedy and stuff, or it set Jim Carrey's career off, or whatever, however you want to place it. It's an interesting film, if you look introspectively, you can see a lot of things. So if I'm explaining the story, so obviously it stars Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz. That's the best I've seen Cameron Diaz, not in the film, not in the way of acting, but the way she looked is different. But yeah, so if I'm explaining the story of The Mask, so you've got a man, he's down on his luck. He's always like, he's being shouted at by his boss. He lives in a apartment where his neighbor, literally his mom, telling him to turn down his stuff. He's not allowed to make noise. He's got to, you know what I mean, taking money out of his rent because he's not doing certain things, or he's made a mess or something. He's really treating him like rubbish. He wasn't getting like anywhere with girls. You can see that he's written into different newspapers, say, I'm a nice guy, a nice guy's finished last and stuff like that. He's going on this whole event, whole thing about that. So what it is now, he actually he went out to a nightclub, and he ends up getting thrown out the nightclub because he didn't get in. All his friends went in and he stayed out, got thrown out, and he's driving this banger car. The car breaks down. He thinks he sees somebody in the river. If you haven't seen this film, go and see this film. If you have seen this film, it is what it is. I'm going to explain probably the hell out of this film, but he goes to save somebody in a lake which he sees. He jumps in, he finds out it's nobody but something wearing a mask. He takes off the mask, he's stopped by the police, said, look, I'm looking for my mask just to get out of trouble. He gets home, and what he does, he puts on this mask. It's like it's calling him, and he puts on this mask, and he becomes this alter ego of himself. So this mask like brings out the alter ego, the things that he wants, all of his, like, everything that's inhibited him, it stopped. So he goes out and he starts to express himself in a certain way, whether it's with the people that come to beat him up. He is able to, you know, get around that because people will pick on him. He's picking on them. He is able to go out and, I don't know, express himself in a certain way to the woman he wants to be with. It's just able to do so much more than what he's able to do right now. And so what you find is, this character, he starts to grow into that character. He becomes more and more obnoxious until one day he loses the mask to somebody else who's more powerful than him, he robbed the bank and stuff like that. In Jim Carrey, Stanley, is Jim Carrey's character, needed money, went and robbed the bank, and so these other guys were trying to rob the bank at the same time, and he gets off with the money. The guys get shot. Some of the guys get shot and killed, and so it starts up more trouble. It lays off more trouble. The more he uses the mask, is the more trouble he's making for himself because he's wearing this mask. Now, this film is deep like that because what you see, and I'm just looking at my notes now, is Jim Carrey, or Stanley, in this film, he's a target for bullying. He's awkwardly social, so he's socially awkward, my bad. He lacks confidence, but he wants to be funny, confident. He wants to be good with the ladies. He wants to have money. And so all of his innermost desires are let out. But then you have the bad guy, who's Dorian, who gets the mask, and then when he puts it on, it's like he's overcome with the boss element of what he wants to be. So even though he's with the lady, he doesn't want to be that. He wants to be like, what's the word? It's a word, like he wants to be intimidating. So he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's scary looking. His innermost desire is being fulfilled. So what this is like, it's escape reality. So it escapes like the mundane parts of his life. So whether it's Dorian, who's wearing the mask, or Stanley, who's Jim Carrey's person, he is really, they're escaping like the mundane reality of their life. Whatever's making them down or whatever they're not so confident about, is that escape that they have from the reality of that they have. So they also, it makes them more powerful, it makes them confident, you know what I mean? And his experience when he puts on the mask, it makes him confident. When he experiences, when Stanley goes out there to live his life, when he goes out there to do the things he needs to do, it's like he's living as another person. He's become this other thing. So it's bringing out all his inhibitions that just come out. So it is released, sorry, his inhibitions gone. So the consequences of this is like, basically it's like a temporary happiness he has, and what you see is he's unable to deal with the reality, but the unreality is what he wants to live in, that his place where he wants to do whatever he wants to do, be who he wants to be, like have what he wants to have. This is Stanley. He's going out and living his life this way. And so what you see is that it makes trouble for him. Stanley had to confront and accept his true self in the end for him to be happy. So if he didn't do this, it would be a thing where he's wearing a mask to just constantly like show people and to be people and to be the way he's gotta be. And that's not the way to live, because it's a facade, it's fake, it's for a portion of time, it's not for the entirety of what he's supposed to be living. It's not something that's long lasting, it's something that's only there for a portion of time. So, and then you see like where he's wearing the mask, it affects his relationships. So what you see is he has a genuine connection with the woman he wants. I really can't remember her name in the film, but it's Cameron Diaz's character. He has this genuine reaction, this relationship with her, this genuine interaction with her. Whereas when he's wearing the mask, it's like is the facade. He wants to get to a certain point, as men do, and he wants to just be able to romance and show off and flair. Whereas really that deeper connection of having that conversation is what she wanted and what he actually needed to show. So when he's having without the mask, he's able to be that person, he's able to speak, but because of the way he's feeling, his insecurities, it feels like he has to be more. And so you compare this to life. Now imagine, yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like, yo, how comes I used to watch The Mask when I was young, and it used to just be a film where you watch the film and it is what it is. You actually like feel that you're just watching a comedy, you're watching some kind of film, it's entertainment. But the deeper layers of films, and that's why I love films, because, or even stories, there's always a deeper layer to stories, there's always a deeper layer to films. So this is why when I watch films and stuff, I try to see what's going on behind. That's why I love like Star Wars, because there's that hero's journey where he has to go on a journey. I'll break that down another podcast, probably with somebody else as well. But there's that journey that you have to go on to self-realization, and it's even in The Mask, that hero's journey. You know, he's being called, he refuses the call, he still goes, all of that. It's there, and so you're able to see that, and you're able to see it from his point of view. So it's something that we can actually relate to real life. If you're looking at people like, I've just made a few notes once again, like J.K. Rowling. So J.K. Rowling is somebody who, she went through depression and poverty and stuff, and she stuck to an idea that she had for a book, and she actually got it to be like, be a hit, be something that we all can, well, relate to. But a lot of people love to read and then went into films and stuff like that. So you look at this and you see this is somebody who's actually gone through these things as well, had these layers of things that she needed to go through to get to where she wanted to. We've also got Oprah Winfrey. Now Oprah as well, she's actually gone through a few pieces as well in her life, so that she could actually make it. So she actually had to go through things where she was judged by her race, her gender, and coming out of poverty and stuff like that. She's had so much traumatic experiences, but yet now, look at her now. She's one of these people who's like the business mogul. He's owned her own network and stuff like that. She's an amazing person in that regard. So you're looking at that. Now, one person that I know, I've seen a lot of, who actually inspires a lot of people, and he does it through motivational speaking as well, is, and I have to say his name right, Nick Vujicic. I think I've said it right, yeah? But yeah, he goes around because he was born without arms and without legs, and he's got through life. He's able to, you know, maneuver through life. He's got a wife, he's got children, I believe, you know, and he's able to function, he's able to do things, he's able to craft his own life in a certain way. And this is somebody that should really be a person that's, I don't know, hiding behind the mask of a computer, but he's not. He's stepped out and he's living his life in a certain way there. He can inspire people. He can get people to really listen to his story and to command that they actually pay attention and pay money in a lot of circumstances, but he's there to help people. He's providing a service. And so when we look at this, this is somebody that we can actually look up to and think, you know what, this person's actually gone through this and actually made it out the other side and is actually doing well with themselves. So the thing is, yeah, he hasn't hidden behind like something else. He's actually tried to expose himself. He's being vulnerable, and that's where the power is. That's exactly where you need to be in order to overcome this thing. And so what we have is like the transformational power of being vulnerable. You know, this is the thing that will probably take it to the next level, where you're not experiencing these things where you're having to hide. You don't want to hide. You want to be yourself. You want to be open and honest and like have that kind of authenticity. And that's what being vulnerable brings to you, is being authentic. Once you're being vulnerable with people, once you're being open and honest, then it's that authenticity that you have. And so to do that, you have to be brave, and you have to really like embrace your imperfection. Like I'm telling you about Nick and how he's having to get through life without arms and legs. And then he's having to face the fact like, yo, I've got no arm. How can I use this to the best of my ability so I'm able to make a difference in my life and the lives of others? And really, it's accepting the negative outcomes and accepting the results of your own flaws. So it's no use trying to hide behind that. And this is something that I've had to do. So if I'm thinking about it, there was a time, like there's been times where I have failed. So let's just take that for instance. I've failed on many occasions, whether it's in business, relationships, whether it's been in, I don't know, just certain life situations. I failed. And so what I've chosen to do is just take that, and I've chosen to make that like a super strength, let's just put it that way, something that I can use for myself, and I can actually get somewhere in life. I can actually use it to the best of my ability. You know, I can try I'm trying to think of the right phrase for it, and it's not coming to my head. There's something there, there's something in the back of my head, but it's not coming. So what it is, I just want to make sure that I'm able to express myself from the flaws that people may see. So whether it's, okay, I've had failures, I've gone through certain things, I'm a certain time in my life, I should be in a certain place, but I'm not, or you know what I mean? everything from having kids to being married or having a certain career path or all of these things. But I'm trying to make sure I use everything that's probably a flaw, which people will see as a flaw, as a strength. So I'm able to like encourage people, motivate people, and whatever it is, and I use it to motivate myself to push forward. Say, you know what, because I've got this is what I need to do. Being somebody who's of color and being in a certain place at a certain time wasn't the best for me, but guess what, I'm here, I've survived, and I got through a lot of the things that I were holding me back at a certain time. But now I've actually come through it, I'm on the other side. Don't get it wrong, yeah, there's still people out there that still think and behave a certain way, but here I am, I'm still here, nobody can tell me nothing. So it's like that, and it's that personal growth that I want to do, is being vulnerable with people and being open and saying, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I've come from. And so having that conversation, it's not the worst thing in the world. Having that look at yourself, and it's the only way. Like, I believe in personal growth, and like I keep saying, is that continual improvement. If you're continually improving yourself, then there's nobody to hold you back and nobody to tell you, you know what, this is wrong with you, so you shouldn't be here. Whereas you are here, you should be here because you are here. So therefore, continue with your life, do what you're doing. But yeah. Personal growth, good. Being different is a superpower. Yes, it is. And I've just explained that you can actually use it to be better, to do things and to get things the way you need to get it. If you, like I've just told you about Nick, he's actually changed his life in a way, and he's changing the life of other people so that he's able to gain from his experience and gain from, you know what, his own, what people will say are flaws, is actually his superpower now. You know, so he's flipped it around. And then also, when you're being authentic, or when you're standing in what you're seeing as, people are seeing as your negativity, my bad, what your weakness is, then in actual fact, you're actually able to connect with other people and have authentic relationships based on that. Whereas if you're seeing with people trying to connect with people with money, let's just say I had a man came to me one day, right? So it was a time when I only had so much money in my bank account, but I got singled out by a guy who followed me into a restaurant, or I can't remember, a gas station, and asked me for money because he thought I've got a lot of money because I drive a certain car, and so therefore he singled me out. And I had to really have a conversation with this dude. But what I'm trying to say is the connection was there because that's what he connected to. Like, oh, this guy's driving this, so therefore he's got this money. It doesn't add up. I might have only had like £5 in my bank account. I didn't. I'm just saying I could have. You know what I mean? So it's that. Whereas like some people, they flash their nice suit, yo, I'm driving a nice car, and their relationships with other people are based on that. Whereas if I go to work, a lot of my relationships at work is about work, and then outside of work I might talk to maybe one or two people that are at work, but majority of the times work is work, and that's what you connect to. You're able to talk because I'm an expert in a certain thing, I'm able to give you a certain thing, so therefore this is what you get from me. You get this information, you get that. And so if you're coming from a place where you're being authentic and you're having that inside thing where you're saying, in actual fact, this is the person I am, I don't take this, I am that, this has happened to me in my life, you'll connect with people on such a deeper level than rather than that skin level of, you know, I'm a pretty person, or I go to the gym and that's all I do with my life. There's more to it than that. So therefore, that's what I'm saying to you, to make sure you connect with people. So I remember there was a guy, there's people that's watching, yeah, so I remember there's a guy that I won't go to the guy first. So I remember somebody saying to me, I remember I was getting on with my life, I was in my teens, and there was somebody that I noticed who used to always do the same kind of things I did. So if I was in a certain place in my life, that person was there. If I was doing certain things with myself, that person was actually doing it. If I was wearing a certain pair of trainers, this person would wear the same kind of trainers, dressed near the same as me and that. I didn't think anything of it until somebody pointed it out and said, you know what, this person watches you, and it's a person that's related to the person. This person watches you. There's always somebody watching you, so you got to be careful with what you do. So I kind of started to think about it and thought, I need to do better with my life. Or I needed to act a certain way or behave a certain way because there's somebody watching. And so you always have to behave a certain way or be a certain way because there are people watching you, there's people following you, there's people taking you as an example and want to live their life the same way that you live. So just think about that, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at all these things where people are looking at you being more authentic or being more real or being like the person you need to be, they're actually watching you and they'll copy, because you know they relate to you in that way. They feel like, you know what, she's this person or he's this person and I've actually gone through the same thing, so this is why I connect with this person, so I will follow this person. I will actually try to emulate this person. It's giving me encouragement. It's making me like feel happy about myself and my situation because they're actually going through certain things. So it's a look at that for you. You need to be aware that if you're not being authentic, you're not giving the light to somebody else to shine. And this is something I think about on a regular basis, that I try to make sure that I regulate myself so that I'm able to say, you know what, I know there's other people that out there, I might not see them, but they see me. And so they may be following or doing the things that influence them, that inspires them, because I'm inspiring them. So therefore I need to behave, I need to be a certain way. So that's with that. Now, what I've written down here, there's a lot of practical tips I could give you, but I'm going to give you about 4 or 5. So what I want you to do, in order to make sure you're being your authentic self and not hiding behind a mask of whatever it is you're hiding behind, is I want you to do a SWOT analysis. Do you know what a SWOT analysis is? SWOT analysis. I should put a definition up, but and I probably will, and I'll probably put there's a word I was going to use, which I use in work. It's another word. A little chart that shows you what SWOT analysis is. So SWOT analysis is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, the thing is with SWOT analysis is if you do it correctly, you'd be able to analyze yourself. So what are my strengths? Okay, what are my strengths? And you need to spend a long time doing this. Just set some time aside, or do it every evening. Just do something, or first thing, wherever you've got the time, just do this SWOT analysis. So what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats in your life, so that you're able to analyze yourself. And once you understand this, you'll be able to understand who you are and have a better idea of who you are. Now, if you've got more threats than you've got, like, I don't know, strengths, and you've got more weaknesses than you've got strengths, so you've got more threats than you've got opportunities, then something's wrong. You need to look at it. Especially in this Western civilization, you shouldn't have more threats and more weaknesses than you should have strengths and opportunities. That is unacceptable. It means you're not looking hard enough. You're not looking at yourself in the right frame of mind. And I know that a lot of people have a lot of issues with themselves, but it's beyond that. So this is why I'm setting this by saying, when you're doing this, you shouldn't have more weaknesses and you shouldn't have more threats. Okay, those should be, as much as you should have those, don't get me wrong, you should have those, but you need to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your opportunities are, and what are the threats around you as well. So get this out and do this, because it's actually going to help you in such a manner. So that's one thing that will help you to be more authentic. So work and achieve realistic goals. So set, work, and achieve realistic goals, which means this will boost a sense of competence when you do this. So the goals need to be realistic. You need to set these goals. So what you need to do is have the goals that are like really that are just beyond what you are now, a little bit beyond. You don't need to set them too far, because like even with me, when I'm doing my work at work, there's big goals I have at work, but I have to break them down into bite-sized pieces, so that like instead of trying to pull yourself up a rope or just to jump up to the next level, you can take a stairs, you know what I mean, take the stairs up, you break it down into menial tasks to get to the big thing. So if you then once you start doing that, this will boost your confidence, you know what I mean, it boosts your sense of competence. So do this as well. Positive self-talk, give yourself positive self-talk. When you catch yourself talking ill about yourself, just replace it with something better, replace it with something good. Now, a lot of times people will say, have positive affirmations, and yes, you should have positive affirmations. I have affirmations for myself, things that like I build myself up, and as soon as I say a certain affirmation, it's like my shoulders relax, I sit up, and you know what I mean, because there's certain affirmations I have for myself, and as soon as I think of it, it makes me want to be that. It makes me sit up and be a certain way. What I'm saying to you is do that. Have positive affirmations. Okay, write down some positive affirmations. I believe, did I do it? If I haven't done it already in one of my podcasts, I'm going to do it, where I'm going to show you how you should make positive affirmations for yourself. Okay, so please do that. But also, when you hear yourself say something negative about yourself, I think my boss even called me out today actually when I said something about having a weakness. He goes, we're not going to call it weaknesses, we're going to call this something to improve on. So even that, like I've said weaknesses, fine, and that I can accept that in a way, because if I don't know what something is, if I don't know where the weakness is, if I don't know where the threat is, well, how can I do something about it? I can't do anything about it if I don't know something's there. If I don't know that I'm bad at something, then how can I do anything about it? It don't make sense. So I need to do something about it. So therefore, that's it. So yeah, have positive self-talk. Know where your negatives are and just flip that into your positives. Yeah. Develop a competence. So as well as I was talking about realistic goals, develop a skill, whether it's a skill that you want to do because it's something to do with work, or it's something that you want to do, like play a guitar. It might be something like play the piano. You want to be a better basketball player, you want to play tennis, whatever it is. Develop a skill, because that's actually going to take you like to proving that you are able to do something. So it proves that you have ability. It's a proof, it's a self proof to yourself where I can achieve something, I can do something, I can master something. Doing this, amazing. So that's all good. And the last thing I will actually give you for now is physical exercise. Get yourself into the gym. If it's not the gym, go for walks, go for runs. It don't have to cost you money. Do a few press-ups. I don't know, just do physical activities, even if it's like, I don't know, it's just getting your heart rate up, because what's going to happen is you're going to have endorphins will start coming in. And I have a friend I haven't spoke to in a while, and I will have to speak to her soon, but she used to go out for runs, and I used to be weird when I hear how fast she'd run every day. She'd run in like 10 kilometers every day, and I'm like, but why? But this is what she needed to do to help her get through certain situations, because she had endorphins. She gets to a certain point, endorphins kick in, and she's cool. So that's somebody I knew or know, and she's crazy about it every day. That's just what she does. So there's that. But yeah, so with that, that's fine. But another thing I would actually tell you is find people around you that actually value the same things as you. So whether that's online, whether that's in your community, whether it's you start talking to certain people and as you start to express yourself and start to be the real you and be authentic and come from that place of like love, because you're loving yourself, you're loving other people, like you will actually start to bump into people who have those same kind of values as you, and so therefore you'll be able to have conversations, deeper conversations with them. And the more you do that, is the more people you'll find you bump into. Once you've done that, you can set up like a support for yourself with people who have the same values as you. So somebody who's not going to like take the mick out of you or whatever it is, and then you can start to build upon this and even create your own community. Now, I've mentioned this before, but this is something that I would actually encourage people to do. Build your community. You know, there's no use trying to or even if you can't build your own, join a community of people who are actually of the same mind as you, actually want to achieve the same things as you, who believe the same things as you, want to walk the same kind of ways as you. So that's what I would tell you to do. Go ahead and build that community, because it's the only way really and truly that you're actually going to make sure you, number one, get stronger, number two, accountability. It's that accountability thing again. I'm always going to come back to this accountability. Don't throw it to one side, because it's one of those things that is really helpful to you, it's helpful to the community, it's helpful to people. If you do things, let's say if you do things with accountability partner, it makes you 60% more likely to get to the end of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So therefore, having accountability is one of those things. But yeah, what I want to do is in conclusion, I think we need to reinforce the idea of having confidence in yourself. Okay, having confidence that everybody wants to be somebody. That sounds like a song, doesn't it? But just know that people out there, what it is everybody wants two things. So everybody wants to stand out, and everybody wants to be a part of a community. So they want to be a part of something and they want to stand out, and the two are opposite. And you have to know that in actual fact, if you actually know that you stand out within a group, then you'll be satisfied that you are like, you'll feel fulfilled, you'll feel satisfied, you'll feel good about yourself. But you can't stand out if you're trying to stand out in the wrong way, because you'll be known as fake. People can spot when somebody's being real or somebody's being fake. And so I remember certain people used to always say to me, you're so natural, because you're not trying to be something, you're trying to be you. You're not trying to be something else. You're not trying to be what the world's telling people to be. You're just trying to be yourself. And I've always functioned from that level. It took me a while, because don't get it twisted, there was times where I was trying to be something I'm not. Like, I remember I had one of my somebody I used to look up to. I used to try and be like them, but I couldn't be like them because that's not me. And the more I tried to be like them, is the more I found out I'm not them, I'm not like them, I'm like me. And so that's when I started to fall into, okay, who am I? What am I about? What can I be about? What do I look up to really? What are the virtues I want to see within myself? And I started to express that more and more. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not even there yet. There's places I need to get to, and there's places I'm trying to get to and move towards right now. But I'm doing better because I'm trying to be myself. And so people can spot that I'm just trying to be me. I'm trying to be authentic. I'm authentically being me. Yeah, I'm not trying to be anything else. I want to try and be the best version of myself I can be. If there's anything I need to improve, I'm going to go and do that. And people see and know that I am me, and that's just it. So make sure you know, number one, I've given you the two things, yeah? Number one, you can be yourself, be authentically be yourself, be who you are, yeah? If you need to take time out to find out who that is, I've given you little ways in which you can do this, okay? And number two, find a community. There's people out there that want to join with you, even if it's just your parents, your sisters, your brother, it doesn't matter. It's people that care about you, and they're willing to tell you the truth, but at the same time, they're willing to take the time out for you. Not everybody, not even sometimes your own family don't want to take time out for you, but please just be yourself. Don't be afraid to expose who you are, because who you are is who you are. And there's other people out there that's just like you. And if you have a problem with being around people, then that's you. That's not other people. Just understand that, yeah? But listen, I need to make sure that, guys, I want you to actually come to me and give me any of your stories that you've had, whether you've been insecure about something, whether you know you've been living behind a mask, yeah? And I want you to answer these questions, please. come back to me, the more I want to try and tell your story as well. If you tell me good stories, I'm going to actually repeat them back, and I'm actually going to make sure I mention you if you want mentioning. If not, but still, I need to hear some stories. I like to hear other people's stories of people who have actually made it and got through certain situations. I might even come and interview you. Might actually, depending on how things go in the next few months, it might be that I can send you something as a thank you, you know. So just send me your stories. But if you can't send me a story, send me this: what mask are you wearing, and what's the price you're paying for wearing it, and what is the price you will pay to live without the mask? Now, these are quite deep questions, and I want you to try and answer them to the best of your ability, because this is going to be a reflection point for you to grow. And I want my people in the community inside of this, the chat and stuff, to be kind and start, you know what I mean, start getting back to people. What I will do, if you want it a bit more private, I will actually I don't know if my email's still set up. I'm gonna have to make sure that's correct, because this is probably like, this is my early videos and I've had a lot of things go on, and I've got rid of one of my email addresses that I used to get from other people, and now I've only got a different email. So I need to make sure I set up a good email and make sure that you guys are able to send it to me, and I'll put that inside of my, I'll put that inside somewhere, because this show's going on different places, different platforms. So yeah, I want to make sure that you guys are able to do that. But please send your questions as well. If you have any questions for me, I don't mind answering any of your questions. But please don't give up on your dreams when everything you want is just a few steps away. Please do not give up on your dreams when everything you want is just a few steps away. Okay, peace.